Hi, you're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host Ashley Case, we'll be sitting down with our industry leaders to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Bill Gregoire. Bill is a proposal professional with over 16 years of experience in the field. He has been a proposal coordinator, writer, manager, senior proposal manager, and is currently a proposal director at a U.S. defense contractor. He's certified at the practitioner level by the APMP and earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in English Writing and History from the University of Massachusetts, Lowell. Welcome to Scribble Talk, Bill. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Bill, let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born, Bill? And let's talk about your early life in school.
So I was born in Lowell, Massachusetts, which is about 30 miles north of Boston. And I went to school in a neighboring city. High school, I was an okay student, I guess, maybe. But I went in and I joined the Army after that, and 3 years there, and then I went to college after that and to university. So,
wow. So you did your degree pretty much in your hometown, Massachusetts, Lowell.
Right.
Yeah. So how was it growing up in Massachusetts, Lowell, and talk us through about your early life? Like any memories, childhood memories, growing up memories in your area.
Well, trying to think now is I've never been to the UK, so I'm trying to think of, I've been to Europe, but not the UK. So I'm trying to think of how to explain. Like America is like a little bit more spread out, so we can play in the street. I lived in a small street, a very quiet street, but we could play baseball in the middle of the street and really not having to worry about getting run over.
Wow.
It was great, it had different parks you could play in and whatnot. And, it was a pretty quiet place. And when I finally got out of there, gone into a city, I'm like, wow, this is different, very different. So that's pretty much.
Yeah, that's a good one. And why did you went to the armed forces before university?
I needed some discipline. I really needed discipline. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I figured that was a good place to start. And I figured out what I didn't want to do, which was the Army. I was an infantryman, and I realized that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I got out, went to university, and majored in English and U.S. history, and I started as an administrative assistant, when I was, after university, and then an office manager, and then, it's a long story of how this happened, but I got to be a technical writer. Wow. And I was actually working for McAfee for a couple of years out in California. And then the .com, we're looking at about 2002 when the .com bubble burst, and I found myself back in Boston, working at a big retailer, and for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then I got into the mortgage industry, then about a year and a half, 2 years there. And they decided that I was training to be an mortgage underwriter. And they decided to close that loan fulfillment center. So, all right, now what do I do? And so I found proposals And I'm like, what, there was a job open for proposal, what was it, proposal coordinator, which is a fairly, as we know, it's kind of an entry level in the proposal world. And so I went, all right, that's great. What on earth is a proposal coordinator? So I found out what they do, and then that 16 years later, actually over 16 years later, I am now a proposal director. So it's just something that just it grows on you after a while. It can be stressful, but it does grow on you. So
what a fascinating journey there, Bill. I mean, like, who would expect, yes, I want to be disciplined, so I'm going to the armed forces. Now I know what I want to do, spend 3 years moving on. And I took varied roles. Then it's amazing, from English writing, English literature, moving into technical writing to mortgage writing, underwriting.
yes.
Finally, you came to proposal writing. There is always writing within your life. When did you realize that you could write well?
I think it was probably when I was in my, my freshman year at university. In my first year, I was, I had to take, the required English writing courses, and I realized, geez, I'm pretty good at this. And I went into university as an accounting major, and I realized that I could not do math to save my life. It was pretty bad. But writing, I could do it really well. And that's my favorite. I'm going to change my major. I changed it to English, and then, and I've always loved history. So probably about a year later, I picked up a second major in history, focusing on Native American history. So our indigenous people here in the States. So that's how I get the education part of it. And then she said it just kind of, my writing sort of morphed from technical writing onto proposals.
Did you find any similarities or differences between technical writing, English writing, and proposal writing? How would you kind of say, hey, these are the common patterns and these are some of the nuances within?
You always have to consider your audience. You got to consider who's reading what you're writing, and in order to make it understandable for the people who are reading it. And that goes with any kind of writing. I would also say that you always have to plan the same, I think. Maybe not so much with journalistic writing, as I did do a little bit of that too at university. Let's see. So, but, because journalism, it's like this interview, it's hard to plan for it. I mean, you can put questions forward ahead of time, but what really happens during the interview, that could change the whole set of questions. So, as I'm sure you're finding out right now. But at any rate, so but yeah, definitely consider your audience. If you're doing writing other than really journalism, you've got to plan it out. And then proposals, what's different, I'd say, is that you have to make sure that you're customer centric when you write them. When you're writing for proposals, always keep your customer in mind, which I guess is your audience. So there you go.
Nice. That's very interesting. I think very early on, you have been fine-tuned or naturally towards writing. And over the years, you might have done tens, hundreds of proposals at different levels, Bill.
Yeah.
Do you remember, your very first proposal, or early on how you immersed yourself in proposals to now being a director of proposals for a federal? You might have seen lots without naming the tender, and can you talk through some of the good, bad, and some interesting bits that you have done?
There's, I would have to say, my first one, I have no idea. I don't remember, but it was about, it had to, it may have been a school district in the States, possibly New York State, because we did a lot of those at that company I was at when I first started doing proposals. And reading the RFP, or the tender request, or look at it, and why do they want all this? This is crazy. And it's got to be exactly the way, but this doesn't make sense. So anyway, and then I moved on to federal government proposals, what I've been doing for over 4 years now, and those are really crazy. But anyway, but that's when I first started out. I didn't realize just how detail oriented you really have to be, and how closely you have to follow the instructions. So, I got used to that. And I think the most memorable proposal was one that I did learn a lot from it. And I was early on in my career. I might have been doing proposals for 2 or 3 years at the time. And it was a fairly big proposal for the industry I was in at the time. And for various reasons, I hadn't heard of the Shipley system at the time, the Shipley methods, or I don't know that I was in APMP at the time either. So this is before I really got into my professional phase, I would say. We're partnering with another company who used Shipley and stuck to it, and really pushed that. That's what their method was. And they're asking me questions about, when is the pink team going to be? When is the red team going to be? Like, what's that? And I'm like, oh. And that was, they looked at me like I had 2 heads, and then I had to explain to them. I said, no, that's not how we do proposals where I'm at. So you can just imagine how. Well, first of all, I got the Shipley books real quick. And, even though tried to do that as much as possible, but, my understanding of it wasn't that good at the time. And that wasn't my only proposal going on then. I had up to 4 or 5 other proposals going on at the same time. While I'm doing this monstrosity of a proposal. And a lot went wrong. However, the proposal went in on time. Unfortunately, we lost because of price. And but it was a good experience, just because I learned a lot. I learned so much, and I learned how important APMP and Shipley can be for the industry. So that's when I started learning it. And I think that's when my career really, it entered a different phase. So that's probably going to be the most memorable for me.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Bill. And you nicely alluded to, once you got the book, you had the best practices within you. And at what point did you come across APMP, and talk us through your APMP certification journey as well?
Let's see. So APMP was probably about 2011. I know I've been a member since then. I didn't go to my first convention until Bid and Proposal Con until 2018 in San Diego. And that's where I took the boot camp for a foundation and passed the test. I'm like, all right, here I am. Now I really feel accomplished. And then, what's it been? Almost 2 years ago, I tested for Practitioner, which I got that. I found it was a computer-based testing, and I it was quite the test. I remember it being pretty, when I say it, with APMP, because they changed from Shipley a little bit. It's how it's different is not, you don't have the exact same nomenclature. so I had to make sure I was prepared for that. So, but I know the test was a couple hours at least. And I did that. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm at practitioner, and we'll see about professional. I don't know. I might give that a few years. We'll see what happens. See if I really want to do that to myself.
Yeah, I take it in phase. I think you have done your best part already. Thank you for sharing, Bill. And Bill, we talked about your early life career, how you kind of moved from armed forces to office management into, insurance underwriting to technical writing, proposal writing, and now director of proposals. We also touched the early parts of best practices, APMP certification. So tell us 3 things not many people know about you, Bill.
Let's see. I play bass guitar.
Okay.
Let's see. There's that. There's been married 24 years. Have 3 kids. One's in university. The other 2 are in high school. I know you all don't call it high school in the UK, and I can't think of. I think it's secondary school. Is it? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm so American. But anyway, there's that. And I like to go camping too, up in New Hampshire, which is not too far north from me, about 2 hours away from me.
That's nice. That's nice. I think, thank you for sharing. You also alluded to some of your hobbies and interests other than spending time with family, playing your guitar, and visiting New Hampshire, camping. Anything else that you do when you have spare time?
That's about it. I was flying planes. I was taking flying lessons for a while, but then I decided it's not really for me. It was nice to go up, and I spent maybe 30 hours flying a Cessna Skyhawk, but it just wasn't working out for me. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't break a plane, but
that's brave of you. Yeah, I've done skydiving. I've done scuba diving and others, but never managed to pull myself in together for driving a plane. So that's something that I might aspire to in the coming years. I'll keep you posted, Bill. Thank you for sharing, Bill.
Sure.
And let's officially enter the Nutters round in honor of Howard Nutt. We also call it the random rapid fire question round, and random topics here. Whatever comes in your mind is the answer, Bill. So it's fun. Let's go with it. So if I ask a reference from your wife of 25 years, what do you think she will tell about Bill?
Oh boy. She would probably say, I'm a good guy. What else would she say?
I'm sure she will listen to this, Bill, and I'll ask her personally. Is that true?
Well, yeah, I'd say I am. I'm a good guy. We've had our ups and downs, but we're doing well, I think.
Fingers crossed. All the blessings and all the love to you and your wife, Bill. I think we'll continue to be the same. That's good. So, Bill, what's the weirdest thing you have ever eaten?
Oh, wow. The weirdest thing I've ever eaten. It would probably have to be liver.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, and I didn't do it willingly. Well, I didn't know what it was at first. I was in the Army, and one of the cooks that I knew had given me, he said, oh, it's Swiss steak. I'm like, oh, all right, fine. I started eating it. I'm halfway through it. I'm like, this is weird. And he's laughing so hard. And I'm like, wow, what's wrong? And he's like, it's liver. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're kidding me. And like, no, I'm serious. It's liver. I'm like, oh. So yeah.
That's it. Yeah, liver is very common cuisine in Asia. Not just liver, every body part of an animal.
Oh, really?
It's common, but again, yeah, it's right. I think it depends on if you're used to it, then it's different. But if you're not, then obviously it's all the right thing. So, if you had a choice, would you time travel to the past or time travel to the future?
I would have to say the past, just so I could watch. Yeah, you see, like, did the history books get it right? Did my history professor lie to me?
Mm,
It would be really interesting just to see where we were as, people,
yes.
say 100, 200 years ago,
Mm,
and look at what we are now. So, like, have we really progressed or have we gone backwards?
mm.
That's what I would really want to know as a people. How are we doing?
Fascinating. You know what, Bill? We have done over 200 episodes now, Bill, and close to maybe 1/3 of the episode, I asked this question. Not even once, a guest has said, "I want to travel to the future."
Really?
No, I'm always curious about the thing of okay, we know what's here. I obviously life before could be the basics, so so we can fill ourselves in. So it's quite fascinating. I don't know. I need to dig deeper on this. Why people don't want to go to the future? They want to go to the past. Anyway, that's a good one. So, what is the best compliment you have received so far?
The best compliment I've received so far.
Hmm.
My mother-in-law, she held her father in very, very high esteem.
Mm,
And a bunch of years ago, this is a long time ago,
mm,
um, she she stood in front of me, she looked me in the eye and she says, "You know what, you remind me of my dad." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I almost cried. I'm like, because I know how much she loves her dad. And
mm.
and I knew him too. I had the honor of knowing him for a while. And he was a great guy. So that really was a great compliment to me.
Wow, that's just amazing. Especially as you write, how much personal it will be, right, for your mother-in-law to
Yeah.
compare. That's great, Bill. I mean, like totally. So, Bill, when was the last time you wrote a letter, a personal handwritten letter to someone?
Wow. Oh, I don't remember.
Maybe this Christmas you should try.
I don't know if I can write.
That's true, isn't it?
Handwrite anyway. I don't know. I've been typing so many years. Typing
Mm,
or texting.
mm.
I might have to try that.
I think you should. I normally write a letter every year for Christmas just for myself, and I post it and I send it to my friend. He normally posts it to me a few days before Christmas the next year. So just to get a feel for, Bhaskar, this is what 2023 is going to be for you, and this is what you will achieve, etc. That's what I normally write. And then I send it to my friend. He normally posts me. So I compare what I did this year to what I was thinking I will do next year. And most
That's
of the
not a bad
time,
idea.
most of the time I get really surprised with myself. Really? Did I what I was thinking last year? And you just go. But yeah, I think I've started to write monthly letters to my mom. Just even though we talk to each other pretty much every week or twice a week and email, WhatsApps and stuff. But I've started to write there, just to get some personal touch. It's shocking. I think once you put your hand to a paper, it's what do you write, because you
Right.
already spoken a lot, you already messaged a lot. What else do you write, but still it's different. I suggest you and most of the listeners should try this Christmas. So
Hmm.
I know you play bass guitar. What's on your music playlist now?
My the music I play and listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, well, I don't know what you all call it, classic rock, which is probably from the 60s, 70s, 80s, the older stuff. I love progressive rock, like bands like Yes, King Crimson, Rush, that sort of stuff. A little bit of metal. I listen to a lot. I have a pretty eclectic musical taste. There's a couple of genres that I'm not going to name them, but I just don't like them. I just can't get into them. But most music I do enjoy.
If you are the host now and your two
Oh,
dogs are the guest, what question will you ask your two dogs?
oh my. I would ask them, what's it like to be a dog? Just because I want to know from their perspective how they see things, how they,
Mm,
I want to understand them better.
mm.
So that's one question I would ask them.
Out of the two, who's naughty? What's their name? Who's
Well,
quiet?
let's see. Puddles,
Mm.
I didn't name him. Puddles is pretty mischievous, but he's so cute, you can't stay mad at him for long. He's a Cavachon, which is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and Bichon Frise mix. And then the other dog is he's about the same, I'd say. He's kind of mischievous too, but again, he's always smiling. He always has that doggy smile on him. And he's a mini Bernedoodle, which is a Bernese Mountain Dog and miniature poodle mix. And they're just fairly small dogs, small to medium, and they do get into trouble, but like I said, they're like, they look at you and they're like, all right, guys, just go, no treat for you. And then of course, you know how dogs are. I mean, they're just too cute. You can't stay mad at them.
That's beautiful. I'm sure many listeners will be nodding their head on this. Well, if you have to go and choose a completely new profession, what would you pick?
Oh boy, maybe a professional musician.
Yeah, that was an easy question.
Yeah, I mean, not a big rock star, but someone, a musician who can make a living at it. That's right. I have to put that caveat in there. I have to be able to make a living.
Totally. What's the last thing you watched on TV?
I think it was the movie Noel, which incidentally is the name of my middle child, my oldest daughter. So,
okay.
Noel. It's Anna Kendrick is stars in the movie. It's just a family movie. Yeah, it's a cute movie.
Nice. I know you like history. If you could have dinner with any 3 people from history, who would you invite and what will you cook?
Wow. Any 3 people? Gosh, that's a good question. Historical figures. I think, that's a very good question. I don't know. I had never really thought of that. Maybe, with the political climate in the United States, which is, I don't have to get into that. And, but I would want to talk to, say, some of the founders of America, the earliest, after the Revolutionary War was done. And I want to hear what the framers of the Constitution, of our Constitution in America, I want to know what they were really thinking. And I would want to know, were you guys predicting what would happen in America now? Did you have any clue of how it's going to turn out? I would really love to know that. There's a lot of issues in America now that I think the world kind of frowns upon, and it's something I would want to know. Are we out of hand? I mean, are we going crazy, or is this something you think you've seen before? Do you see it in your time? That's kind of what I would want to know.
Shortly, I was in Washington a month ago, and I went to some of the memorials of the leaders. It was quite fascinating, their quotes and the way they are during that point, their viewpoint of what they went through, what they saw, and how they could take the country forward to what it is. I was thinking more or less the same when I was in there. If these guys were alive today, do you think this will be relevant? And I'm glad that you pointed it, Bill. It's a very fair question. If the leaders who founded the countries, that's a very fascinating point. Thank you, Bill. And sure. Obviously, it's a dinner. So what will you cook for them?
I don't know. I hadn't thought of that yet. I don't know.
Okay, let's leave that to them. Maybe they bring, or you can order a takeaway or some meal.
Well, yeah, there is a good Indian place down the street.
Good, why not? That's something I'm sure they might not have tried during the late 1700s, 1800s.
No, probably not.
That's good. So, which one word would you use if you could only use that one word for the rest of your life?
Peace.
Jeez, nice. This is a popular one as well.
Is it?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a popular one. So what is the very first book you remember really loving that you found? Oh, that's an interesting book.
Probably when I was a kid, it had to be something Sesame Street. Yeah, but I think, as an adult, gosh, it might have been something that I read in university. It's a Stephen Crane novel called, from the late 1800s, called Maggie, a Girl of the Streets. There's a lot of it in there it's relatable to today. Especially with having, how impoverished people grow up in America. This is set in New York. So it's a really, really powerful book. It really is.
That's very good. And have you ever cried at a movie or a drama or a play or anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at a movie. I remember Saving Private Ryan. I remember at the end of it, just because, I'd spent time in the Army, and everything. I think back to some of the guys that I served with that aren't with us anymore. And, it really hits home in a way.
Wow. Totally. I think when you have served already, when you watch army movies like that, I mean, like, yes,
Yeah.
it does touch. Because again, I was talking when I was in Washington, again, I crossed many different parts, like World War I, World War II. But the Vietnam one was very special, and it was quite interesting, like how they have to fight to have that little, like lane for them to have, because it was political, as you rightly mentioned, but because of that, it took them time to actually set up the war memorial just for the Vietnam veterans. And you can still, the people in wheelchairs, people standing there with the tokens talking about, well, it's really moved me. I mean, like, a war is a war, regardless whether it's perceived as a right war or a wrong war, and still there is deaths on both sides, and it was quite amazing. I mean, like, yeah, I didn't have the privilege to serve an army, but you did, and many of the other podcast listeners, I'm sure their family members might have, but it's absolute blessing, world is safe because of a few people's sacrifices. It is. So what would be the hardest thing for you to give up?
The hardest thing for me to give up? I really don't know.
No? You're normally, considering you are a disciplined person, I'm sure if you can work through, you can give up on few bits, but anything pops up your mind, it's like, yeah, that one, I really need to fix it.
My car.
That's a good one.
I don't know what I would do without it. I mean, in America, especially where I'm at, public transportation is not very good at all. And, it's, Massachusetts and Boston, it's known for being really bad. And, it's not like when I was stationed in Germany, when I was in the Army, it was so good there. It was amazing. The public transportation. I never needed a car there, but in America, if you don't have a car, you're going to have a hard time.
Yes, that's what I realized. I think in 5 days, I spent like $600 in Uber alone while I was there.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, like from LA, then I was in Phoenix, then I was in Minnesota, then I was in Washington. So obviously, I was expecting some public transport, but yeah, the quickest and the best way to reach was taxis or the friends helping me to move around. But yeah, I think
it's true.
That's good. What's on your bucket list, Bill? That's the last question in this round. What's on your bucket list? What's something that you think that I need to get this done?
I need to write a book. It's something, my wife thinks I should write a book about my life.
Sure.
I don't know. I think it's kind of boring, but I don't know who on earth would read it, really. But, I do need to write a book about, it could be about proposal management, proposal writing in general. I don't know. But, fiction, I've tried fiction before. I'm not good at it. It's got to be real. So. But
I
that's
think
that's a bucket list item.
totally, Bear. I think you should listen to your wife and go for your autobiography, because it's because this podcast should be a good teaser for you, and I'm sure there will be listeners. I can guarantee our average podcast is at least 80 to 90 downloads, which means 80-90 people listen to at least one episode.
Okay.
Sometimes it crosses up to 300, depending on when the guests share that they have done this. It reaches a lot more people. Otherwise, it goes to our own listening group, and more or less our proposal professionals. But your family and friends, I'm sure they are going to pick up. Oh, I didn't know that about Bill. So this will be a teaser run for you. I'm sure you will get a lot of downloads. That means people will be, Bill, that's interesting. Then go write your book.
Hey,
You can use.
yeah.
And yeah, definitely. If there is anything else you want to digest, just write it as well. That's great. But thank you for sharing, Bill. Thank you for sharing. Who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
My wife, definitely. She's definitely she's amazing. I can't say enough about her. There's a couple of people I served with in the Army that I can think of as well. And my dad, definitely. Yeah, he hasn't been well for many years now, and I just don't know how he hangs in there. I really don't. He's had he's had a couple of bouts of cancer. His kidney failure. He had a kidney transplant at one time, but that kidney failed. But he's waiting on another. This has been going on for 10 years or so. So, and I don't know. I don't know how he does it. He just drives on, keeps going.
Totally. That's amazing. I mean, your father, totally, and your wife. I mean, as you already said, 25 years married life. It's going to go a lot more than that, Bill. Definitely. And
I hope so.
Bill, who haven't you seen or talked to in a long time, and you hope that they're doing okay?
Let's see. There's some of my Army buddies that I haven't seen in a long time. I hope they're well. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I can think of a few of them. There's one in particular that I see fairly often. But anyway, he happens to live in Florida, so that's not a bad place to have to travel, especially this time of year. But at any rate, though,
yes,
yeah, there's basically Army buddies.
Maybe a few weeks to Christmas. I'm sure you could give them a Christmas card or give them a call, wish them.
I'll do even better. I'm going to go down to Florida to see him.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Definitely you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, and having been in the profession for 16 plus years now, before you had multitude of professions, that build up your career here. What's that one common myth about this proposal profession that you're currently in, Bill, that you want to debunk?
That it is actually a profession and not, not just, we need to proposal managers, proposal professionals need a voice in the businesses. They need to be part of the planning. They need to be taken more seriously. It's not to put administrative assistants, secretaries, people like that, but not to put them down at all, because they're so important. But we need to be seen as more than someone administrative personnel. We're business development people. We're very much entrenched in that. It's more so that we have a specialized knowledge and we have special skills. We're project managers on steroids, I think. We are we're just unique people. And that's, we're like, I have to do a military reference. I mean, we're frontline people. We see what these proposals are. We usually have a keen knowledge of what our company can do and what it can't do. We know when, let's say that it's a stretch, when you're like, hey, we can do this, this, and this. Maybe we can do this. And the proposal, maybe we can go a little bit further. And like, if you can't, if you think that it's a stretch, it probably is, and don't bid it. That's the sort of value we bring to the table. We earn money, we can save money, just for a company, just by doing what we do.
Well said, Bill. And what advice would you give fellow bid and proposal professionals, who are entering this profession, or colleagues who are 5 to 10 years within the industry?
Let's see, people who are just coming in, I would say the best advice is stick with it. It's a good profession. It's a really good profession. For the most part, I can't see myself doing anything else now. It's been very good to me. I generally, there's so many things you can complain about, but there's even more things that you can say good things about. But just, hang in there. It gets better. There's a steep learning curve, especially if you're in, like niche industries. I was in the energy conservation industry to start out with, and then that's kind of a niche industry, and it was at the time anyway. And then proposal management, just being what it is, and the perceptions of who the people are that run proposals. You just got to hang in there, prove your worth, and things are going to be okay. Somebody who's been in 5 or 10 years, I would say learn, and actually even beginners too, learn as much as you can. Be a sponge, soak up the knowledge. It'll definitely help. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And just be ready for anything.
Totally, Bill. I think you're right. I mean, end of the day, this is this profession is not about just one skill. You have to build up a lot of soft skills, plus you need to build up the sector experience and technical experience, and there is so much to learn. As you rightly said, soak it up, enjoy the journey, and once you enjoyed it, then pass on, give back. That's it, like what you're doing, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Bill, looking back now, Bill, we have talked a lot about your career, your early life, some random questions and people in your life, Bill. Is there any part of your life or career, or is there anything else you would like to share in the last minute or two before we end the episode, Bill?
Well, gosh, I don't know. I'm just, I just started a job as a director, as a proposal director, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll be a director. And then when I started, when I was just about ready to, well, virtually, because we're all remote, as I meet my team, I'm like, oh, I'm going to meet my team. Now what do I do? All these things that you plan on saying or doing, all of a sudden, the thoughts just go away. And you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But that goes away pretty quick once you start talking to them and get to know them. And, I got some good people in my team. I really do.
Nice. Yeah. And they have a good leader as well within you, Bill. I mean, that's a great one, Bill. Bill, thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you, your family, everybody around you, your office colleagues, your friends, everybody, all the good health and happiness. And I'm sure we'll catch up between now and Christmas. But just in case, Merry Christmas to you and your loved ones. Stay healthy, stay happy, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you very much. You as well.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays
Pastor Sundram
signing off.